It is a big week for President Trump. He's deciding on a Supreme Court nominee. He's gearing up for a summit with Vladimir Putin, and he's taking a lot of criticism from Democrats for separating families at the border. We have former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci, close to the president, understands his thinking and the policy plays. Good to have you, especially on a week where no one is around, it seems, Anthony.
Happy 4th of July, Chris.
Good to have you.
Good to be here.
So help me understand a couple of things here. First, the Michael Cohen situation. What do you think's going on with Cohen talking to the media and putting out these none too subtle hints that he will take care of himself?
Well, listen, I see it a little bit differently, and I did talk to Michael this morning because I wanted to get some clarification from him, and I knew I was coming on your show. And so let's go over the different layers of what he said. On the first layer, him saying that he's loyal to his family and his country is not incongruous with him also being loyal to the president, who happens to still be a close friend of Michael Cohen's. And so I think there's a little bit of an exaggeration going on in the media right now, where that's a warning shot, indication, and all that other stuff. I think that's very consistent. Second layer has to do with the FBI. Michael said right after the raid, I think he tweeted it out, that he was treated well by the FBI, and they were very, very professional to him. And so, again, people are saying that that's against the president. I actually don't think so. The president's been very clear that there's a very thin layer of people inside the FBI that he feels weaponize that agency, but he really loves the rank and file, and he loves law enforcement.
Yeah, it's just a mixed message, but I agree with you that I don't think that that's what's playing here. It seems that Cohen is taking opportunities to speak to the media that seem very purposeful.
Well, I think Jeff may have mentioned it earlier. Do you talk to the media or not talk to the media when you're under the potential of investigation? Most lawyers would say no, but I think in this case, I think Michael's trying to signal to people that he really doesn't feel that he did anything wrong, and he's trying to signal to people, frankly, that he's not a villain in the case. And so it's 12 and a half weeks, Chris, since that raid on his family's residence and his hotel room, et cetera. So let's see what happens. When Paul Manafort had his problem, I think it was 8 or 9 weeks later, they rendered an indictment. And so I think once we know what that indictment is, then you and I can sit down and discuss what the potential strategy
Much better, because right now we're talking about him flipping, and I agree.
Meantime,
I get the speculation, especially with all these reports coming out of friends of his who say he might. There aren't even any charges. We don't understand the case. So we'll hold on this one until we get some more meat on the bone.
As a person that had a 12-year very close relationship with then Mr. Trump, I think the threshold standard here of quote-unquote flipping is very high. And the last point I want to make is if the president do anything wrong, and I take the president at his word, there's nothing to flip over, Chris.
Well, that we don't know. And certainly he's allowed Michael Cohen to feel very isolated and underfunded for his own defense. Those were calculations. We'll see how they come back. Let me ask you.
I don't like that. I don't like that strategy. I agree with you on that.
I can understand why you don't like it. Let me ask you about a couple other things while I have you, because I know that time is short tonight. Second, why would the White House deny the request to lower the flags for the victims of the Capital Gazette newspaper mass murder? Why do that?
Yeah. It's a tough one, Chris. I'm not.
Really? You don't think it's a no-brainer?
So I don't know what the protocol standard. Well, I certainly would do it, but I mean, there might be some pushback as it relates to the military and when the flags get lowered and when
there's no protocol.
They do not.
They did it after Vegas. They did it after Parkland. They did it for Barbara Bush. I'm not criticizing any of these moves, but he could have done it. I'm not here to apologize for the White House. I certainly would have done it. It just seems like when the stuff goes straight up to the president, it gets done properly. And so my question would be to the people inside the White House, does the president know that? Because he's a very compassionate guy. He switched the policy on the separation of the children once he got his arms around it. He started the policy of the separation of the children. And then he put out an executive order that was fugazi as a $5 Rolex. He didn't fix anything.
Okay, we're going to push back on each other. He actually really did not start that policy.
It started under the George W. Bush administration.
No, not like this, Anthony.
It was partially prosecuted during the Obama.
He did zero tolerance.
Hold on a second.
He told Sessions to do it.
Chris,
he liked it, and then
Chris,
it backfired.
read my op-ed today. Read my op-ed today in the USA Today. It's very declarative. It explains exactly how it got started, and you got to give him credit for reversing it. Let's stipulate that he did promulgate it,
right.
To use your words. Give him credit for recognizing that he was wrong and making the reversal.
He never said he was wrong.
I think it's very good of the president. Well, he said it by his actions, didn't he?
He didn't
reversed
say
the policy.
You would have said
it.
You would say that's what a man does in a situation like that. That's what a leader does. It's what an adult does, man or woman.
Okay,
he didn't do it. He said he fixed it with an executive order that didn't fix it. But they're still separated. It's still a mess.
He changed it, and we've got to put the families back together. The First Lady's been down to the border twice. I agree with you that it's a problem. I agree with you that it was the wrong policy.
Is it going to beat him in November?
President credit for changing the
Quinnipiac
policy.
poll comes out and says immigration has now taken over the economy in terms of what will drive people's votes. He had high ground on this with enforcement. Then he crushed those kids.
I agree with that, and
he handed to the Democrats
10
with this
days
one
ago
move.
on your network. Well, I think he's going to fix it. There's a long time, as you know. You're from a political family. There's a long time to go here between now and November, and so again,
I got
he did
warm
try
blood
to fix
pumping
it.
through my heart. That's how I understand this. You don't have to understand politics for this, Anthony. This was an insensitive, inhumane move, and even Trump had to back off. He didn't apologize like a normal leader would, but he had to back off.
As surprising as it might be to your viewers, you and I are actually agreeing on this. You're just agreeing with me. You don't want to give the guy any credit for switching the policy, and
I don't. Not when you started. It doesn't work like that in terms of accountability. But Anthony, you know what does count? You coming on 4th of July week, even though you're about 5 steps from my house right now out in Southampton. Enjoy it. Go stop over there. My wife will give you some zucchini
I'm
flowers.
happy to be out here, and I feel bad that you're not, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I got to do my job,
Right.
but thank
Good
you
to
for
be
helping
here.
me do it.